were the strictest. Commoners could not touch the clothing or any personal articles of the king. They had to stoop or crawl in his presence and could not look directly at him. There were also kapu governing every aspect of daily life. Who can fish and when? What can be planted and how? Where people may eat, sleep, and worship.
Kapu means to make sacred. That's really what it means. It doesn't mean just to prohibit. It means that something is sacred and therefore it's not necessarily for you.
One of the most strictly enforced was the aikapu, the prohibition on men and women eating together. Punishment for breaking the aikapu was severe.
If the men and women were discovered eating together, they died. Both of them. They died. It was really simple.
The kapu system was the bedrock of native Hawaiian life until 1819, the year that King Kamehameha, now in his early 60s, suddenly got very sick. While traditional healers tried to save his life, the king was comforted by Ka'ahumanu, the favorite of his more than 20 wives. Not only was Ka'ahumanu beautiful, she was also a daughter, a sister, and a cousin of Hawaii's greatest warriors and a skillful politician in her own right. Kamehameha had decreed a kapu on Ka'ahumanu's body, meaning no one but the king could touch her.
Many songs and chants have been written about this in a very romantic way, that he put a kapu on her body because of his great love for her. Actually put a kapu on her body because he didn't want any other chief to get any ideas to take this great power away from him. If he lost these great generals, he would lose the islands.
On his deathbed, Kamehameha followed the British monarchy's lead and named his eldest son Liholiho as his heir apparent. Though she wasn't Liholiho's mother, he named Ka'ahumanu as the new king's chief counselor, the first woman in Hawaiian history to hold such an influential position. This was Kamehameha's final act. King Kamehameha died at his home in Kailua on May 8, 1819. It may have been typhus, cholera, or any number of diseases that were sweeping the islands. But there were also rumors that he had been poisoned by Ka'ahumanu. Under this cloud of suspicion, the great king was prepared for his funeral rites. It is said that the wails of his people could be heard from ships anchored a mile offshore.
The great chief had died, and all of Hawaii was to undergo tremendous change as the question came, who would rule in his place?
Ka'ahumanu had her own answer.
She summoned Liholiho and said, "Oh, chief, there are your lands. Those are your chiefs. Here are your guns. But you and I will rule together." And that's not what she meant. She meant, I will rule. And if you're smart, you'll stay out of my way.
So she took his place in council. She donned the cape. She was, for all intent and purposes, the sole ruler of the island. Liholiho was the puppet king.
But Ka'ahumanu had a problem. According to traditional law, when a chief died, his lands were redistributed among a number of high chiefs. But neither Ka'ahumanu nor Liholiho wanted to lose any part of the islands they now controlled.
They said, why should we give up what we earned through battle? So in order not to do this, you had to completely destroy the foundation upon which everything was built. And that's exactly what they did.
Ka'ahumanu destroyed the foundation of Hawaiian law by breaking its most sacred kapu, the prohibition against men and women eating together. The embers in King Kamehameha's funeral oven were barely cool when Ka'ahumanu commanded Liholiho to a feast.
She just beckoned him, and he came. And that was it. He came and sat with her and took a morsel of food from her hand. So that was just that one occasion, forever etched in history. You're talking about 2,000 years of law. This is a long time to adhere to a set of rules. And then all of a sudden, overnight, someone says, now we can eat together. Now we can live together. Now there is no kapu.
Kamehameha then ordered all the religious images burned and the temples destroyed.
So you can imagine if everybody went into all the churches in your neighborhood, broke up the churches, broke up the images, knocked down all the crosses, and said God no longer exists. This is exactly what happened to the Hawaiians.
But there was resistance. The new king's cousin, Kekuokalani, raised an army in revolt against the end of Kapu. Fighting by Kekuokalani's side was his wife, Manono.
The wives would join their husbands in a last-ditch effort to fight. Because if they didn't do that, they became spoils for the new king. So if a woman loved her husband, he'd rather die with him in battle than to be a slave or married to somebody that she didn't love.
The king's forces and the rebels met at the Battle of Kwamo. The rebels were no match for the king's army outfitted with Western firearms. Kekuaokalani was shot dead by Liholiho's forces, who then turned on his wife, Manono, and shot her in the head. The ancient religion went out in a blaze of musket fire.
After they killed Kekuaokalani, they decimated everyone in his entourage.
Well, the bodies are left there, covered in stone. And today, if you go to Kuamo'o, you can walk there right through a little rocky trail that leads through these piles of stones that are all about you. Each of them contain the defenders of the ancient ways.
By destroying the old religion and quashing any rebellion, Hawaii now had a single royal family determined by hereditary birthright. Liholiho, who called himself King Kamehameha II, was nominally in charge, but the real power was with his father's favorite wife, Queen Ka'ahumanu, who had instigated a revolution by destroying the old ways.
Next, it would be an invasion without muskets and gunpowder. Hawaii is transformed by Bibles, sermons, and men of God. We'll be back with more of Conquest of Hawaii. Aloha, I'm Kelly Hu. I grew up in Honolulu and attended the Kamehameha schools, one of many places named in honor of our greatest king. Kamehameha I died in 1819. The same year, a ship left Boston filled with missionaries. Their goal was to convert the pagan islanders into Christians. The religious conquest of Hawaii was about to begin.
The original pioneer missionaries left New England without any knowledge of the death of Kamehameha.
He's gonna say without any knowledge, but they had knowledge because they had contractual agreements with Queen Ka'ahumanu to poison the king and destroy the kapu system so that they can get ready and come there and convert the people and take the resources like the sandalwood that Kamehameha was protecting from being eradicated. That's why he almost killed the Russian ambassador and told him to leave before you all die, and they dug out.
Which had actually happened in May of 1819. Absolutely no foreknowledge of any of the events that were going on while they were at sea.
You hear that? Absolutely no foreknowledge. I bet you this guy's a Mormon. It's all bullshit.
This included the overthrow of the kapu system. The ancient religious system had been over.
If you think about it, they were getting it ready. They were getting the islands ready for these people to come and use the problems that they created as a catalyst to convert. Just like today when they make false flag attacks, and then they get you all up in your emotions, and they pass bills, and you let them because of what they show you.
The throne. Wars had resulted in the defenders of the old system fighting against the forces of the new Kamehameha II government, which was enforcing this overthrow of the kapu.
The missionary party was led by Reverend Hiram Bingham and Asa Thurston. They had convinced the American Board of Commissioners for Foreign Missions to fund an expedition after they had heard a young Hawaiian named Henry Obukaya give a speech at Yale College.
Henry Obakaya actually grew up at Kealakekua, in the place where Captain Cook had met his end. He had escaped from the wars of Kamehameha with his own brother dying during those conflicts. And then he got onto a ship and went off to America, where he was adopted by a Christian family. And the story is told that he sat on the steps of Yale Library weeping. And one of the teachers saw him and asked what was wrong. And he said, "There's so much knowledge in this building and so little knowledge in my head." He became a wonderful convert for the Congregational Church, who used him as the poster boy for mission effort.
Obukaya had planned to travel with the missionaries back.
This is what they do. They take people of you and they educate them, enlist them into secret societies, and then send them back as poster boys to share what they want you to know, right? Going back to Africa, go back to Africa, right? Oh, you're more.
To Hawaii, but he died before the Thaddeus set sail. 4 other native Hawaiians were on board to act as guides and interpreters. On March 30th, 1820, the Thaddeus sailed quietly. He died before the Thaddeus set sail. 4 other native Hawaiians were on board to act as guides and interpreters.
You see the look of the native Hawaiian?
On March 30th, 1820, the Thaddeus sailed quietly into a harbor on the big island of Hawaii.
When they arrived at Kauai on the island of Hawaii, the first question that Hiram Bingham asked was, "What's the news? What's going on?" And the answer was,
So what happened was they came and said they wanted to know right away, like, did everything go down the way we planned it? Did it all go through the way we planned? And this is what they said.
Kamehameha is dead. The islands are in chaos. There's no religion. Well, the impact of that statement upon these young missionaries was overwhelming. Hiram Bingham gathered up his brothers and sisters in Christ. They knelt on the main deck of the Thaddeus and they praised the Lord for having come here.
You see how he's Christian. You can tell the way he's speaking. Like, oh, Jesus.
To overthrow the kapu for them.
When the missionaries were granted an audience with Queen Ka'ahumanu, there was a strange kind of meeting of the minds. Ka'ahumanu had something the missionaries wanted, non-Christian heathens. And the missionaries had something Ka'ahumanu wanted.
With the abrogation of the kapu, you had to replace it with something. You've just thrown away the baby with the bathwater. What is going to replace that order? Ah, this replaces that order. How wonderful. Something completely new. Something that allows me to be boss forever. Something that doesn't challenge my role. Well, you had to replace it with something. You've just thrown away the baby with the bathwater. What is going to replace that order? Ah, this replaces that order. How wonderful. Something completely new. Something that allows me to be boss forever. Something that doesn't challenge my role. And that's exactly what happened.
Conversion didn't happen overnight. Hiram Bingham built Hawaii's first Christian church, but a few native Hawaiians came. They were suspicious of the foreigners, who they referred to as howlies.
They couldn't get people to come out to their church except to listen to them sing. And they would lament that there wasn't a general acceptance. And it wasn't really until the conversion of the chiefs that you saw a change in the population.
In 1824, measles claimed the life of King Kamehameha II. The king's younger brother, 12-year-old Kamehameha.
Measles claimed. They were just killing all of our royalty. That's why a lot of us who are finding out that we have royal ties, we were never told this. It was a quiet thing. We don't understand. Because they were killing us all.
Kamehameha III ascended the throne, but Ka'ahumanu remained firmly in control. She also publicly converted.
So, Kamehameha the first and the second murdered. And guess who's still in control? Queen Kamehameha. Now the third monarchy under the control of the queen.
Christianity.
The people had by that time no say at all, because the foundation on which their kapus sat was destroyed. So it no longer came from the council of chiefs. It no longer came from the council of priests. It no longer came from the Halinawa. It was their house of law. It just came from that one person.
A year later, in 1825, Kaahumanu developed a serious illness and she became an even more passionate Christian convert.
It looks like she's going to die. Bingham comes over, prays over her bed day and night. She recovers. She does perceive that this religion may have the same kinds of healing power that the old religions were believed to have. You know? After all, Haole, they get sick of these diseases, but they don't die.
With still no resistance to the diseases brought by foreigners, native Hawaiians were rapid.
So, she wasn't stupid. They just said she was a lawyer. She was one of the smartest women in Hawaii. To make a comment like that, that's not a logical comment. What that was, it's a comment to manipulate your people, because common people is gonna hear that and gravitate towards it. So she wasn't saying that literally as what she believes. She was saying it as a way to coerce everyone into Christianity, because they was having such a hard time converting people to Christianity, because a lot of the contradictions, most likely,
dying off.
If our demographers are correct, 80% of the population must have perished just between the years that Cook arrived and Kamehameha died.
So from 1776 to 1819, these people were just releasing bioweapons on us, killing 88% of us. We were well over 1 million people. 88% of us in less than 40 years. Just killing us all.
It had to have been absolutely horrible.
They used it against Hawaiians at the time and said, see, your system was wrong. Your system resulted in the deaths that you've been seeing around you. Now, honor God.
The native Hawaiians came to church because they were told to, but they stayed because of what they found in the back of the pews, a written language.
The reading and the writing. That itself was a new power, a new technology that not only, I think, impressed the chiefs in their dealings with foreigners, but I think swept like wildfire among the people.
Bingham worked closely with a bilingual Hawaiian named John Papa'i'i to create a written Hawaiian language. As standardized by the missionaries, Hawaiian has 7 consonants and 5 vowels. 12 letters that blend to create the sounds and pronunciations of this unique language. To spread the written word, primers were distributed free to those who would attend church. By 1831, most Hawaiians could read and write. At the time, Hawaii reached the highest literacy rate of any country in the world.
Many missionaries give accounts of going to a village and being told that we want palapala, reading and writing, because it makes us feel close to God. That when they read the words, their mind fills with the spirit of Akua, of God.
Queen Kaahumanu wrote new laws based on the 10 Commandments. And she heeded the demands of the missionaries that the traditional Hawaiian way of life be abolished.
To the missionaries who knew nothing but what they had known back home, the Hawaiians were these terrible barbarians needing great change.
What they saw was degradation. But I think they also saw the unsanitariness of things, the unhealthiness of the population. And it became really clear that you not just convert the people to this new religion, but that all kinds of changes had to be made in their lives in order to make them civilized.
religious rituals, chants, and the hula, all forms of expressing and passing on the history of the Hawaiian people, were outlawed.
The hula was such a disturbing kind of dance to these missionaries because it celebrated in a kind of eroticness that was inherent in Hawaiian culture. It also celebrated gods, of course, that as far as they were concerned did not exist.
My husband's family were forbidden to teach hula, forbidden to teach esoteric lore, forbidden to heal on pain of incarceration and fine, chain gangs. A people conquered.
All of these occupations were null and void now. They were gone. So what do we use? What do we stand on? We have nothing at this point, except the Word of God.
The missionaries set up free schools to educate the island's children.
The missionaries were allowed to take over all of the children who had the potential of becoming a future king and queen, and sequestering them in a school absolutely removed from their earlier life. The thought that for their own good, they would have to be westernized quickly and totally.
But mission schools had at least one unintended effect. Young scholars in Maui used their new literacy to document Hawaiian history by talking to their elders, who still remembered the traditional ways.
They wrote down rituals, they wrote down social class systems, they recorded the history of the ruling chiefs and of the common people. And that legacy, I think, is just invaluable.
One of those students was David Malo, who would become one of Hawaii's greatest intellectuals. Malo had a prophetic sense about the ultimate conquest of Hawaii when he wrote, "The white man's ships have arrived with clever men from the big countries. They know our people are few in number, and our country is small. They will devour us." By 1832, Hawaii was being inundated by foreigners. 5 shiploads of Protestant missionaries had landed to settle all of the Hawaiian Islands. On Oahu, Queen Kaahumanu was nearly 70. She retired to her country house, confident in the ability of Kamehameha III to carry out her wishes. On June 5, 1832, Queen Kaahumanu, the woman who had started a revolution by abandoning the ways of her ancestors and embracing a new religion, died. She is said to have passed while whispering the words, "Here I am, O Jesus, grant me thy gracious smile." For all intents and purposes, Hawaii was now a Christian nation, and its future would be shaped by those who brought the religion to the islands.
The missionaries may have come here to do good. They stayed here to do well. There were millions to be made in sugar, pineapple, and other products. Hawaii's version of a gold rush, when conquest of Hawaii continues.
In the decade following Queen Ka'ahumanu's death in 1832, David Malo's prophecy that Hawaiians would be eaten up by foreigners was coming true. Trade expanded rapidly, and Honolulu began to look less like a native village and more like an American or British town. The weapons that had won the islands for King Kamehameha I were now rusted and obsolete, having been traded for the power of the Bible and laws based on the Ten Commandments. As foreigners settled, they began to make more political demands on the monarchy. In 1839, France used gunboat diplomacy to urge King Kamehameha III to accept French wine and brandy with minimal duty, and to re-establish the Catholic Church, which had been thrown out of the islands in 1837.
Kamehameha III is forced to sign this treaty because the Hawaiian kingdom has no military power. Kamehameha III has to consider a different solution, and at this point, there are people who are there to advise him that what is needed is a more civilized system of lawmaking and rule.
Those advisors included William Richards, the first missionary to join Kamehameha's government. In 1840, Richards encouraged the king to create Hawaii's first written constitution.
The advice that he got from missionaries was, if you honor foreign institutions, law, if you have a civilized country, if you have